Let me take you into a quiet room for a moment. Imagine this. A man or a woman sits near a window in the evening light, tea in hand. Life has slowed down now. The race is over. Or at least it should be. But something feels off. Not because of age, but because of habits that never retired. And today, I want to gently talk to you about something we often ignore. These six habits are slowly harming your peace, your health, and your joy after 60. Not loudly, not suddenly at all, but silently, like a dripping tap that empties the tank over time. Let's begin. Habit 1. Living in the past like it's still home, there is a strange comfort in the past. It never argues with us. It never demands anything from us. It only offers carefully edited versions of life where pain is softened and joy is highlighted. And so, after 60, many people unknowingly begin to shift their residence from reality to remembrance. They don't say it directly, but their mind whispers it every day. This was better, that. Time was better, I was better than. And slowly, without packing a single bag, they move into a house that no longer exists. You see, the past is a beautiful teacher, but a terrible address. I once met an elderly gentleman who would sit in the same chair every evening and repeat stories from his youth. At first, it felt charming, but then I noticed something deeper. He wasn't sharing stories, he was escaping into them. His present life had become so silent that only his past was loud enough to fill the room. And that is the danger. When we live too much in memory, we start neglecting the miracle of now. The tea in our hands becomes tasteless because we are remembering a tea from 40 years ago. The people sitting beside us feel distant because we are emotionally sitting somewhere else. But life is not waiting in yesterday's photographs. It is breathing in today's moments. After 60, the mind often becomes a historian instead of a participant. It keeps archives instead of making memories. And slowly, joy reduces not because life becomes empty, but because attention moves away from it. Let me gently ask you something. Is your past comforting you, or is it quietly replacing your present? Because there is a difference between remembering and residing. Memory is healthy, living there is not. The most peaceful elders are not those who forgot their past. They are those who made peace with it and then politely closed the door. They learned a sacred truth. Life does not move backward, even if memory does. And when you stop living in the past, something beautiful happens. You start noticing small joys again. The warmth of sunlight, the sound of laughter, the presence of people who are still here, still loving, still living with you in real time. The present is not asking you to forget your story. It is only asking you to stop rereading it while life is writing a new page. Habit 2. Neglecting the body that still carries you there is a quiet betrayal that happens in old Arjan art, from others but from within ourselves. We begin to treat the body not as a companion but as a burden. A slight pain becomes normal. Fatigue becomes expected. Stiffness becomes accepted fate. And slowly, the body that carried us through decades of life begins to feel like an inconvenience rather than a blessing. But let us pause here for a moment. This same body has carried you through heartbreaks, celebrations, losses, achievements, sleepless nights, and countless mornings you thought you would not survive. And still, it is here. Is it not deserving of gratitude? After 60, the body does not demand punishment in the form of extreme fitness. It only asks for respect. Respect in movement, respect in food, respect in rest. Yet many people say, at this age, what is the point? But that sentence is dangerous because the point is not perfection. The point is preservation of dignity. A simple walk is no longer just exercise, it is independence, it is freedom. It is a declaration that I still choose to move through life. But when we stop moving, something subtle begins to happen. The body listens to the message, you are not needed anymore. And it responds by slowing down further. It is not punishment, it is communication. And let me tell you something gently but honestly, health after 60 is not built in hospitals. It is built in habits. A little movement, a little discipline, a little awareness. Even small acts matter. Stretching in the morning, walking after meals, drinking water mindfully, sleeping with respect for the body's rhythm. Because the goal is not to become young again. The goal is to not become imprisoned inside your own body. There is a profound dignity in an elder who walks slowly but confidently, who breathes deeply, who sits with awareness, who treats their body like a lifelong friend rather than an abandoned responsibility. The body is not asking you to fight age, it is asking you to support life. And when you begin to care for it again, something beautiful happens. You don't just add years to life, you add life to years. Habit 3. Complaining as a daily ritual. There is a subtle addiction many people don't recognize in themselves, the addiction to complaining. It begins innocently. A small discomfort is mentioned, a mild dissatisfaction is shared, a harmless observation is repeated. But slowly, over time, complaining stops being an expression and becomes a personality. After 60, when life becomes quieter, the mind sometimes tries to fill that silence with noise. And complaining becomes that noise about health, about family, about society, about the weather, about everything that is not going the way it should. But here is something we rarely realize. Every complaint is a rehearsal for dissatisfaction. The more we speak about what is wrong, the more our mind learns to find what is wrong, even in situations that are not. I once heard someone say, I don't complain, I just observe reality. But there is a difference between observation and repetition of negativity. Observation brings clarity, complaining drains energy. And after 60, energy is precious. It should not be spent unconsciously leaking through constant dissatisfaction. There is also something deeper happening. Complaining creates identity. A person starts feeling important through their problems. Conversations become centered around what is wrong rather than what is possible. But life does not become lighter through louder complaints. It becomes lighter through quieter acceptance. Acceptance does not mean approval. It means awareness without resistance. Imagine sitting near a flowing river and constantly complaining that it is flowing. The river does not stop. You only exhaust yourself. Similarly, life keeps moving. But our peace depends on how we respond to its movement. After 60, wisdom is not about pointing out problems. The world already has enough of that. Wisdom is about choosing response over reaction. And sometimes, the most powerful spiritual practice is not a mantra, but a pause before speaking. Because every time you choose not to complain, you reclaim a little bit of your peace. And slowly, life stops feeling like a list of problems and starts feeling like a space of possibilities again. Habit 4. Emotional dependency on children. There is a very thin line between love and emotional dependency, and many people cross it without even realizing. After 60, especially when life becomes quieter, children naturally become more central in a parent's emotional world. And that is beautiful up to a point. Love is natural, connection is natural, caring is natural. But when emotional stability starts depending entirely on children, something subtle begins to shift inside the heart. Every phone call becomes a measurement of happiness. Every visit becomes a validation of worth. Every delay becomes a wound. And slowly, without intending to, the parent begins to place the entire responsibility of their emotional world on the shoulders of their children. But let's understand something gently. Your children are your extension, not your emotional oxygen. They are living their own lives, dealing with their own struggles, building their own identities. And even though they love you deeply, they cannot be everywhere all the time in the way your emotions sometimes demand. And when expectations become too heavy, even love starts feeling like pressure. I once met an elderly woman who would wait by the window every afternoon. Not because she had nowhere else to sit, but because she was waiting for a call that might or might not come. And when it didn't come, her entire day felt empty. Not because she was unloved, but because she had unknowingly made her peace dependent on someone else's availability. This is where emotional imbalance begins. Love says, I am happy when you are happy. Dependency says, I am only happy when you are here. And the difference between the two determines the quality of your peace after 60. The truth is, children do not distance themselves because they stop loving. Often they distance themselves because they feel emotionally overwhelmed or unable to meet unspoken expectations. And this creates a silent loop. More expectation leads to more distance, and more distance leads to more expectation. But there is a way out of this cycle. It begins with emotional self rebuilding, rediscovering your own interests, reconnecting with old joys, creating small daily rituals that belong only to you. Because a peaceful parent is the greatest gift a child can receive. When you are emotionally grounded, your presence becomes a blessing, not a demand. And slowly, something beautiful happens. Children don't come out of obligation, but out of joy. Not out of pressure, but out of love. That is the shift we are all invited to make after 60. From I need you to complete me to I love you and I am complete within myself. That habit 5. Stopping all learning. There is a silent retirement that happens long before physical retirement. It is the retirement of curiosity. Many people after 60 stop learning not intentionally, but gradually. They feel, I have seen enough, I have learned enough, I have lived enough. And so, life becomes a repetition of what is already known. Same conversations, same opinions, same routines, same thoughts. But here is a gentle truth. The moment learning stops, life does not end, but it starts shrinking from the inside. Because learning is not just about education, it is about expansion. I once heard a beautiful thought: you don't stop learning because you grow old. You grow old because you stop learning. After 60, learning doesn't need to be academic or complicated. It can be beautifully simple. Learning a new recipe, learning a new word, learning a new idea from a conversation, learning how technology works just enough to stay connected, learning how younger generations think not to agree but to understand. But many people resist this. Not because they cannot learn, but because ego quietly says, why should I? And that is where stagnation begins. Because when learning stops, certainty increases. And when certainty increases, curiosity disappears. And a life without curiosity slowly becomes emotionally flat. Think about a river. Why does it remain fresh? Because it keeps flowing. The moment it stops, it starts becoming still, and stillness without movement becomes stagnation. The same is true for the mind. A learning mind stays alive. A fixed mind slowly becomes heavy. After 60, you don't need to chase knowledge like before, but you can allow life to keep surprising you. Listen to new stories, watch new perspectives, ask more questions than giving answers. There is a deep humility in saying, I don't know, but I am willing to learn. And that humility keeps the heart young. Because the real age of a person is not measured in years but in openness. An open mind breathes, a closed mind survives, and life, after 60, can either be a slow closing or a gentle expanding. The choice lies in one simple habit: staying a student of life. Habit 6. Carrying old grudges like family heirlooms. There is a strange burden many people carry into old age, something invisible yet heavy. It is not physical weight, it is emotional residue. Old arguments, unspoken pain, broken trust, words that should not have been said, words that were never said. And instead of letting them go, many people preserve them like emotional heirlooms, carefully stored, repeatedly revisited, and silently carried. But here is the truth: grudges do not punish the person who hurt you, they only punish the person who holds them. After 60, life naturally begins to slow down. But the mind, if not healed, continues to replay old stories with fresh emotions. I should have answered differently. They should not have done that. I will never forget this. And every replay reopens a wound that life had already started healing. Forgiveness is often misunderstood. It is not saying what happened was right. It is not forgetting the event. It is not inviting the same hurt again. Forgiveness is simply refusing to let the past control your present emotional space. I once met an elderly man who had not spoken to his brother for over 20 years. When asked why, he couldn't even remember the exact reason clearly anymore, but the silence had become permanent. 2 decades passed, not because of the problem, but because of the refusal to release it. And that is how grudges work. They outlive their original reason. After 60, time becomes more valuable than pride, and emotional peace becomes more important than being right. Because what is the point of winning an argument from 30 years ago if you are losing your present peace today? There is a powerful question worth asking: do I want to be right, or do I want to be light? Because both cannot exist together in the same emotional space. Letting go is not weakness, it is emotional maturity. It is saying, this story no longer deserves space in my heart. And when you release old grudges, something unexpected happens. You don't just free the other person from your mind, you free yourself from your past. And that freedom is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself after 60. Because peace is not found in perfect histories, it is found in a heart that has stopped carrying unnecessary weight.